Hi, this is Randy with Creme, creating real emotional moments. And I actually want to start this video off with a disclaimer. So for the last couple of videos that I've been doing, they've been like 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long, and I feel like I'm not producing the most quality content to give you. I feel like I'm missing stories, I feel like I'm missing anecdotes, really fleshing out the tip so that way you can get a better grasp and understanding. So those 2 minutes, even though I feel like you're getting gems, I don't, even saying it, I feel like I was kind of stuttering. I was very hesitant about saying it because I felt like you weren't getting the most out of your time. And so from this tip on, I will be doing a tip a day, but instead of actually putting the tip and the number, I'm going to put the number or the name, but I'm gonna make it more of like a clickbait title, so that way you can still get the most out of the tip of the day, but still be able to get the most out of what the tip actually stands for. So it included in the story is pretty much what's going to be the title of the tip, but I will always preface it as tip number blank. So for instance, like today's tip is going to be tip number 25, listen to advice the first time. But the title of the post will be a lot different than just saying tip number 25. I just think that's a little better, so that way people can get a better understanding of the overall story as opposed to just the tip, because even though the tip is a title itself, there is missing pieces within the title that's gonna really pull out the most from the tip. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, just comment down below, bro, what you said in the beginning does not make any sense, and I'll elaborate in future videos. So going back to the tip number 25, listen to advice the first time. Now, this is part of the time management series that I'm doing in the first 30 odd days. And when it comes to listening can really help you save a lot of time. And time isn't only based off of just the hour or the 2 hour or the time that passed previously. Obviously, previous and past, the same thing. But time also goes into the future, allowing you to be able to maneuver through life with time, winning the game of life. So listening to advice the first time, it's kind of hard when somebody gives you something, especially like a friend, and they're like, hey, you should do this, as opposed to what you're still doing. And it's hard to change, and it's difficult to change, because we're so invested in that emotion that we put to solving that answer or coming up with that answer, that we're not willing to move away from that answer. And so here's what advice does. Advice gives you another perspective. Advice tells you, hey, you're looking at through this lens, but the lens that you're looking for is not facing this way, it's facing this way. See that? Even though it's the same thing, kind of, still same hand, the way you're looking at it is a lot differently. And so I remember in my instance where I was in a relationship back in 2013 to 2016, and in about 2014, 2015, the relationship got a little toxic, and I was kind of stressed, not too stressed, but I really didn't know what I was doing in the relationship. I didn't want to be in it anymore. It was long distance. I'm not a big fan of long distance relationships. And I said, you know what? I think it's time for me to break apart. And so before I came to this conclusion, I asked one of my friends. I said, hey, here's the situation. I don't feel like this is producing as much quality as I thought. I want to break it off, but I don't know how. I don't even know if I should. Maybe I'm overreacting. We talked for a long time. We talked for probably like 3 or 4 hours, really diving into and divulging all the pieces of information that is needed to come to a final decision. Because remember, there's experience there. The time invested is also emotions invested. And remember, prefacing what I said in the beginning, we're so caught up into our emotions and how we feel in this instance that even though we think something is right, we're not willing to do it because of that emotional investment. We're gonna feel like we're wrong. We're gonna feel like we don't want to do this anymore. We're gonna feel like everything that I've done up to this part was a lie, and we're not willing to face that. And that was me. I was in that denial sense. I was like, no, you know what? Maybe I'm overreacting. And then even though we came to the conclusion it was the best thing for me to do to break it off, I still maintained the relationship for about 1.5 years later. And instead of it being on an upward spiral, it kept going down and down, and it kept going lower and lower. And it got really bad. And instead of me saying, you know what, I'm gonna listen to this advice. This is a credible source, someone I trust, I have a confidant in. He's my confidant, and let me be able to live a freer life, stress-free life, pressureless life by breaking it off. Now, don't get me wrong, I did still try to work it out, but overall, I should have listened. I should have listened because the factors were there. Seeing everything in a clear, objective light is better than seeing it in a subjective light. By writing out different instances of where it is important and your values are important to make a relationship thrive. And this is not a post about relationships, but this is about time. I would have saved 1.5 years of time if I broke it off early, allowing myself to do a lot more than I wanted. So when it comes to advice, some key elements so that way you can take and make sure you get the best advice is, one, make sure you go to someone or a group of people who have quality, credible resources, so that way you're able to make your best decision. All right, so that's the first, finding confidants so that way you can get the best objective resources. Second, writing things out. Make sure you're writing out so you can see for yourself the positives and negatives on whatever the situation and event is. And the best way for you to do that is by taking a blank sheet of paper, not lined, get your mind flowing, no lined paper, computer paper, a pencil, so that way you can erase, you can scratch off. Or for me, I don't really like pencils. I give the pencil idea because when I first started to get into the realm of really thinking about what I wanted, I was making a lot of mistakes. But then I was like, to build my confidence, I need to start writing in pen. And so I did that. So that's kind of a train of thought for you to understand where to transition from with pencil to pen, from not so permanent to permanent. All right. So the first is find confidants. Second is to be able to write it out on a blank sheet of paper with pen or pencil. And third, reflect. Reflect on the past and reflect on the future. Where you are right now, you can't really reflect on. Because if you're in the situation, it's already too late to reflect. The situation as in, when it's time for you to do it, whatever the event is, the situation is. If you're supposed to not go to the club anymore, but you're in the club, you can't really think about the situation because you're already there. So if your advice is like, don't go to the club anymore, focus on your work, make sure you get everything done and go back to play, that's an advice. But if you're in the club already, you can't really do that. Just club it out, have fun. But the third is get out of the situation, reflect on the past, reflect on the future to know whether or not the advice that you're, or the end result that you're about to make and the action that you're about to take is even worth it. Yes, sometimes you may be given the best advice, but is that advice even worth it in the end? And you have to calculate those things. See how it is that you're gonna be in the future, how you were in the past, and then now, while you're in the now, in the middle, push and take that action. Take that right action. So tip number 25, listen to advice the first time, all right? And when you do listen to that advice, make sure it's the best advice for the situation, all right? So hit that like button, subscribe for future tips. Remember, there's gonna be a lot longer than 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, because I really want to dive into some stories. I really want to make sure that I'm very personable with you, so that way you can see my history, where I got these tips from, because each and every tip that I put out, those tips are solutions to help me, that helped me in the past, and that's gonna help you in the future. All right, just know that I love you. I'm wish the best for you. Hopefully you had an awesome day, or is going to have an awesome day today. I'll see you next time. Peace.